Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Dahlia. Today we are back on Croakwood, my all-frog fishing town village, working on another build. And today's fun. Today's a fun one. Today is a very big build, which is why today's video is a little longer than my other one. So I hope you guys enjoy a slightly longer video. But yeah, without further ado, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go over to the area we're going to be working on. So we're working on the area that's back here. We're working on Blather's tent, finally. After wanting to work on it for the last like at least 2 videos, that's what we're working on today. And I did take so in my last video, which if you haven't seen already, I'll leave the link in the description and at the top of the card. I asked if you guys had an opinion of whether or not you wanted me to only use the codes I've been using on this island so far, or to use this road path that I had downloaded, or the old moss path that I previously had downloaded for this island. And the reviews were kind of mixed. A lot of you guys like the idea of sticking to this one code, and a lot of you are like me, want like variety when it comes to your codes. Like you like islands that have multiple roads and like different flooring and like all that stuff. I'm fully on board with that idea. However, we have officially decided to only use my fake water code and this deck code as like the main codes on this island. I do have a couple of smaller codes I'll be using for like a couple of smaller sections, but this is going to be the 2 main codes.
No, you made the wrong decision!
And the reason it took me so long to work on Blather's tent is because I wasn't sure if this is a particular area I wanted to break off from like the water and the dock areas, and then actually transition into like either a road or a moss code of some kind, because that was like my initial idea. It was going to be like a combination of a bunch of different codes, and I decided to just stick with this one code, which honestly, to be like completely truthful, I kind of like this idea more because I've never done, actually that's a lie, I've done islands where like I've only had like one road code. But this is the first time I've done an island where my entire island is fake water. Never done that before. I've done fake water on all of like my tropical and coastal islands, which I've done a few, but I've never done anything like this. So this is gonna be a fun challenge because that means every villager, every building is gonna be on like a deck surrounded by water.
Thank you, Catherine Obvious. The expression is thank you, Captain Obvious. It's not Catherine? No.
And we have to be creative with how we use our different buildings. So today, like I said, we're doing Blather's tent. I've just created the outline of my deck path leading up to his house, or leading up to Blather's tent, which I guess technically would be his house because he's living in there. And then we started with the water, and now I'm placing my trees. This is the way I've decided to do all of my build layouts going forward, because it's the easiest way to figure out where I want trees to be planted. Because once I place all the water code down, it creates a little bit of a challenge where I'm like, okay, so now where am I breaking everything up, you know? So this is the easiest way I've found to like incorporate trees, and I like it. So I'm showing you guys kinda the layout of how I'm placing them down and then how I'm placing codes around them. I've done this before, so I broke up a lot of this footage because like I said, this build is a little longer, this build is a little bit bigger because I kept adding to it, which is great because it actually, as I'm recording this voiceover, I've already started working on the next build, and a little part of the build today is going to go right into the build I do for the next video, which is really nice. I like when builds kind of like piggyback off each other, and one little area that I worked on in this build is going to be a big part of the next build. But anyway, all right, give me a second just to place this code down, and then we can get back to talking. Alright, there we go. Anyways, like I said, I was initially going to do the traditional thing for Blather's Tent. Like, I was debating doing, like, in other islands where I've done Blather's Tent versus the museum, I've done, like, focusing on, like, him being, like, a studier of bugs, a study of, like, fish, or like have a dig site for him, like, you know, like the traditional things. And I want to do something a little different, and the only other thing I've done where it's been a little bit different is that on my abandoned jungle island, I made his tent kind of like a store where people get supplies, because the jungle city was kind of like an abandoned area where like people had like there were like encampments where people were like living, and then there was like a supply store, and that was Blather's Tent essentially. So it was like surrounded by like gardens and like overgrown plants and stuff, because that's where like people were growing food that they were having in the jungle. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for his tent, because his tent does fit within the theme. Obviously, finding a tent in the middle of a, I don't know, water with like a bunch of docks might be a little bit bizarre, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I initially, when I started downloading codes for this island, I downloaded a really fun farmer's market kind of code, which you'll see me use today. And I decided for his like tent and his overall like area, I want to do a farmer's market. So that is basically what we do. So in a minute I'll be working on the actual farmer's market portion of the build, but for some reason I created a lot of water code placement in this build, just because like there's a couple of areas that were connecting from this build to my other build, and I like just kept like expanding and expanding.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
That's why, like I said, this build just kept getting bigger and bigger. So one thing I did want to do on this island is have a couple of these kind of like houseboats, where like you can't get to them by like walking over like different dock areas. Like, this is just like you can only get to here by boat to get to the houseboat, or like the houseboats move on their own, I guess you could say.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb, for real.
So these are this is a tiny little houseboat that is specifically for fishing, as you guys can see, and it's super cute. And this is going to be the build that leads into my next video. I'm not going to tell you what the next video is, but just know that this is kind of the vibe of the next video, and that is where I'm going to be building. Because as you'll see in like the final walkthrough, when I show you guys like the view from this particular area right here where I'm standing as I'm placing down the log stakes, there's like this giant gap in between the houseboat and like the left side of this area where Blather's tent is. So I needed to come up with an idea of how to fill in that gap. So that is where we're going to be focusing our attention in the next build. But yeah, anyway, we're now back to working on the main focus of the build, which is Blather's tent. I'm placing a couple of decorative items on the dock leading up to his house. And then for the actual farmer's market, I did a little bit of moving around. We're using stalls for the farmer's market, obviously. And I kind of debated the layout for a bit, and like they were going to be like kind of similar stalls to what I did at my, my resident services, where I had them like kind of facing each other, and they were like kind of back-to-back stalls. I changed it to make it look like this instead, so you can kind of like walk through the space a little bit better. And I decided to do exclusively like farmer's market, as in like fresh vegetables and fruits. and like items that are related to it. So on one side on the right you have all of the vegetable items. So you have not only like the veggie basket, but also like pickled vegetables, jarred bamboo shoots, stuff like that. And then on the left side I'm going to have entirely fruit. So luckily we have all like the jam jars and like the marmalades for the fruit, so it made it kind of easy to like section the two areas. I obviously use the fruit basket as well, making sure to kind of like position it in different ways to make the item look a little bit different from like different perspectives. And yeah, that is it. And then obviously I used like the wooden boxes. They thankfully have like those little fruit signs on them, which I think added just like a little bit more detail. And then there's a little farmer's market sign, or like farm, I think it just says farmer's market. There's the little sign I placed right in front of Blather's tent. And then to add a little bit more dimension, and then also to add a little bit more items to this area, I also used the vintage low table to place some additional items behind the stall. I was just trying to add as much as I could to make the space look really messy, really big, and like really full, like your traditional like overgrown farmer's market. And I think I managed to pull it off. I think it looks really cute. And this is where I started to realize that the back of the tent was looking a little bare as I was placing like all these items around the space. So I expand it in a couple of minutes to expand to like the back corner. And this is where I use a couple of additional items that I didn't use like in the actual farmer's market area. So I was like trying to think of like how it would make sense to add more items. And I was thinking it could be like one of those. So like obviously farmer's markets are like a collection of like freshly grown produce, fish, like etc. And clearly there's no area around Blather's tent where like fruits and vegetables are grown.
Thank you, Catherine Obvious.
So I decided we should do like a little back corner area of the tent where like his shipment of fruits and vegetables are like stored, which is where you'll see the additional items come in, because we do have additional items that have like the fruit and the vegetable logos on them, and that is the cardboard boxes. Now unfortunately we only have the cardboard boxes in like the singular with the fruit logos on them, and then we only have the stacked cardboard boxes in the vegetable versions, which for some reason is what Nintendo decided to do. Like, I don't logically think that makes any sense.
Does that, when you hear yourself say that, does that sound like it makes sense?
I think we should have like the individual ones for the fruits and the vegetables, and then the same for the stacked, but I'm not about to question what Nintendo wants to do with its own game. So before we place that down, I just did a very small little dock area for Blathers. It's just like a little area he can sit at. This could also be like the little area where like the supplies maybe come in or something. I don't know. I just wanted to do a little dock area. As you guys see, I placed a little section specifically for like a little dock, and then I put a yacht, and then we're gonna put a bunch of yachts around the rest of the water, of course. But yeah, I love how this whole area looked already. I felt like it looked like exactly how I pictured in my head. I'm glad I went with like the dark wood as the primary focus of like the front of the farmer's market. And as I was initially like planning out like what items I was gonna place down, I was like confused as to like if I should incorporate the cardboard boxes, because like obviously the cardboard boxes are like a different color scheme, a different, I don't know, they don't go exactly with like the wood layout of the other items. But then I'm like, all right, we'll have them all be back here. So I just placed them down in like very random increments, and then I'm using some like wooden boxes and some pirate barrels just to add some height for the actual standard cardboard boxes. Thankfully you can stack cardboard boxes on top of each other, so I was able to make like it look as if like the regular fruit cardboard boxes do have like stacked options, even though obviously they don't. And then yeah, I'm just kind of placing them randomly. I feel like for this particular build, it was just kind of nice to place them very scattered, kind of similar to what I did at my fish market area in front of my res services, just to kind of like give the illusion that it's a little bit messy, which I feel like goes over all with like, just goes with this theme very well, which I really like. And yeah, that's it. Like it looks so, like it just adds more height to the back. I do add a couple more trees behind there too, just to kind of add a little bit more, like I said, like some height and like some, I don't know, make it look a little bit taller, because obviously Bubba's tent is on the shorter side. But yeah, and then we're just going to be placing some yachts down, like I said, and then my dropped items, and that is basically it. This build did take me like 2 days to kind of like put together, because like I said, I kept adding things on more and more and more, to the point where I was like, okay, if you don't stop, you're just going to keep building. And
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more.
it's gonna get to the point where like you're not gonna know when to stop. But I really love how this whole area came together, and once again, it's like I appreciate my decision for just doing this one these two codes together. And if you are curious about these codes or any of the other codes I'm using on my island, everything is listed in the description for you guys. But I don't know, I really like them. I think it's a very fun island that I haven't seen anyone really ever do, like this particular type of theme, not just because it's like an all frog island, but just like this overall theme is just very unique. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, and comment down below letting me know how your day is going. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!